Eagles of Stanford. Janitokova, Faluka Akinradowo last year hit about 500 for the season. Amazing performance, but so far getting shut down.
Texas one set away from getting back to the championship match for the first time since 1995. And Destiny Hooker will start things off with the service error, point for Stanford. Cardinal in white, the Longhorns in burnt orange. Different colored jerseys for the libero. They are a defensive and serving specialist, one on each side. Cassidy Lickman looking to set Waller. Her tip popped up nicely by Kistner. Akinradowo crushes it.
One of the adjustments we can see that Stanford made in the 10-minute break was they switched the positions of Cynthia Barbosa and Alex Kleinman, flipped them. So now Barbosa is next to Lickman in the lineup. They also are starting with a different server, trying for a different matchup, paying off at the start of set number 3.
That's Gabby Ailes, who grew up about 20 minutes south of here, went to Bellevue West High School. She was in the crowd 2 years ago watching the championship match as Stanford fell to the Huskers. A non-scholarship walk-on that wanted desperately to play for the Cardinal and attend school there, and trying to make her dream come true.
And was only promised a scholarship her junior year, but did so well, of course, her freshman year, that earned her way on and loves her experience at Stanford.
Her sister Tatum, also a collegiate volleyball player. She's at Missouri. Polini rocks that overpass, point Texas.
That's an example of a little bit of the struggle of Stanford. The ball coming over the net and the passer, the first contact going back over for the easy kill for Polini. Stanford usually a very good ball control, very good serve reception team.
Texas helping out Stanford here. That's a couple of service errors in this third set. Hooker out of the back, up against one blocker. Ailes with the nice D. Kleinman responds down the line, point Stanford.
And that's a nice reach by Kleinman. She goes over a 6'3" Ashley Engel down the line on the outside. That's what happens when you hit the ball with an extended elbow, a straight arm.
10th kill for Kleinman. And Stanford starts to try and do what no team has done before. Down 0-2, they get the block of Fawcett.
And immediately you could feel the momentum has shifted a little. Stanford looking a lot looser.
Timeout for Texas with Stanford on top in the third. Texas leading Stanford 2-0, but the Cardinal up 6-2 here in the third. They must win 3-4 in order to force the fifth set to decide this one. Some Cardinal fans making the trek here to Omaha. They have been in the finals the last 2 years. They lost to Penn State last year. They lost to Nebraska in this building 2 years ago. Julianne Fawcett through the block for the kill. 13 kills for Julianne to match what she had in the region final win over Iowa State.
Stanford unable to form a block with no seams. That ball going right between the left arm of Lickman and the right arm of Akinradowo.
Akinradowo sliding behind for the kill. The NCAA Women's Volleyball Championship will continue with the finals on December 20th at 8 Eastern. Coming your way Saturday night on ESPN2. For more information on the NCAA Women's Volleyball Championship, go to ncaa.com. It's the official online home for all 88 NCAA championships. Hooker's tip, no. Ailes popped it up. The freshman Coker setting Polini. Barbosa. And Polini misfired on it, point Stanford.
And Polini again so error-free, the least error-prone of the consistent hitters in this, and the 4 teams remaining. Texas not going to want to see many of those misconnections between the freshman setter Coker and Polini.
Fawcett missed it wide.
Feel Texas pressing a little.
Yep.
here trying to guide the ball that time. Fawcett was, instead of really snapping on it, there was much less topspin on that ball, and it too sailed wide.
Sometimes you get out to that 2-0 lead and you look at it as a bit of a cushion. You let up a little bit. You know, the other team can get right back in it, as Stanford is doing here. Barbosa. Fawcett from behind the line, and again knifed it through the defender.
You're absolutely right. Stanford would have 2 more blocks right now and 2 more points if there wasn't 6 inches between the 2 shoulders. Blockers always want to get shoulder to shoulder. 2 lost opportunities there for Stanford.
Kylie Hall serving. Lickman the quick to Akinradawo, sent back and then stuffed down. At 6'5", Lauren Polini and 6'4", Destiny Hooker setting up the wall.
That's a tough combo for Akinradawo to be up against. Stanford might even think about trying to change its rotation around even more to get her free from them.
Barbosa goes over the top of the block.
And that's a player Stanford has to get going. Cynthia Barbosa on the outside. If she does, I could see them easily. Here she is, 375. This third set, I can see them easily coming back. Even though it's not been done before, they could certainly make it at least go to a 5th.
Back to a much more Stanford-esque hitting percentage, and Akinradawo with the ace on the miscue there defensively by Hall. Trained with the U.S. national team in the offseason. One of the Olympic alternates was Feluca. She will end her career as the best hitter in NCAA history.
Hitting .499 last year. She was in a real battle with Krista Harmato, the great middle of Penn State last year. Now Harmato on top of that battle this year. Much because Stanford lost an All-American 4-year setter in Bryn Kehoe, and Cassidy Lickman still getting the feel of her craft. Doing a better job as the season has gone on for Stanford.
Both these teams having to replace 4-year starters for them at that setting position. That's your quarterback or your point guard. And now Lickman, out of high school coming into Stanford, she was a hitter. Then they converted her to a defensive specialist. That's what she was in the starting lineup last year in the final. And now setting. Another kill for the Cardinal.
You are right. It's amazing how far she's come with the lack of setting experience she had, but she's just such a great all-around volleyball player.
We were told the last time she set was when she was 14 years old, but she's doing it again this year.
I play volleyball because I love it. It's the one thing I love to do every minute of the day. I play volleyball because I love the game, the strategy, and more than anything, my teammates. I play volleyball because it's fun and I love it.
And here courtside in Omaha, it's set number 3. Texas has taken the first 2, but the Cardinal in control here in the third. Beth Mowins along with 3-time national champion Karch Karai, which, by the way, you can't spell without the Y, as in the old Ann Arbor Y. Isn't that how you got started back when you were younger?
My dad started me when I was 6 years old, and I play for the same reason that these ladies do. It is fun. There's nothing like taking an opponent's hardest shot, a rocket, controlling it, coming up with it, and putting the ball down to the floor.
How do you think you would have fared against Destiny Hooker at 6'4", just a tower of power?
Hey, if she can high jump 6'3 1/4", she goes right over me at 6'2".
10 kills now. She and Fawcett both in double figures. Lickman to Waller. Back outside to Hooker. Off the top of the block. Point Texas.
And that's one of the added advantages that Texas has with Ashley Engel, who's also a great setter in her own right. If there's a scramble play, she steps in, puts it to the perfect location. You get a good set to a good spot. Hooker with the put away.
Such a game of momentum swings, too. We saw Stanford coming out of the locker room hot. Then now Texas out of the timeout taking over. Both these coaches, good motivators and tacticians. And after 3 straight points, John Dunning has seen enough. He wants the pendulum to swing back in his favor. Stanford leading at 13-9 here in the third. And we have a doozy coming up next with The Nebraska Huskers taking on the undefeated and defending national champion Penn State Nittany Lions. The NCAA Women's Volleyball Championships presented on ESPN by Enterprise Rent-A-Car. We'll have the finals for you on Saturday night at 8 Eastern. For more information, log on to ESPN.com. And you'll definitely want to stick around to see the likes of Nebraska's Jordan Larson, and for Penn State, well, pick them. They got 6 All-Americans in the starting lineup. And they have just been a juggernaut rolling over the competition throughout the season. They are trying to become the 4th undefeated in women's volleyball. And here are some other notable teams, perhaps the best ever in their sports, that went undefeated.
Well, North Carolina is such a juggernaut in women's soccer, just winning their 19th championship, but so many incredible athletes coming through there. That's the kind of athletes that we're seeing out on the volleyball court in both semifinals, but especially on that loaded Penn State team.
Women's soccer has always been good. That UConn women's team went undefeated in 2002. Of course, all of John Wooden's great teams that included an 88-game unbeaten streak, and then your volleyball team went unbeaten that year to win the national championship, one of your 3. You still feel the pressure when you get to the national semis, or is kind of a weight lifted just that you're there and you're that close to winning it?
I think for Texas, you're happy that you made it after not just missing the last 2 years. But Stanford would like to go farther. They've made the last 2 finals. This would be a great disappointment not to even make a 3rd final in a row. They are tremendously consistent, but Stanford unusually has not won a championship in 3 years.
How about Penn State without a loss? They feeling anything leading into this match, or are they loose and ready to go?
They sure looked loose to us. They're having a blast. We watched practices yesterday. They looked the loosest of the 4 teams. One of the things is Coach Rose doesn't want anybody, those are public practices, and he doesn't want anybody to get any extra information, so they all switch jerseys and wear different numbers, and they just get such a kick out of that, calling each other by different names.
I think it's a good thing, for lack of a better term, to have a few goofballs on your team, and Penn State has some of those. They happen to be really good players as well.
Well, we've seen it in other teams. Nebraska in 2001